What are the best movie reboots? That's what we're going to discuss on today's episode. Hey, it's me, AP, and welcome to the Saturday Movie Show, the show where we dive into plenty and plenty of movie topics. And on today's episode, we are going to be exploring the topic of movie reboots, best movie reboots in movie history, or maybe just more recent history for me for this video. Anyway, why do I want to dive into this topic today? First of all, we've got some really big-time reboots coming out more recently. We've had the Ghostbusters one that has just come out this past week. I've not seen it as of yet, but we've also got the Resident Evil reboot coming out as well. I mean, reboots is a thing that is a trending thing in movies, and I just thought it'd be a cool topic to deep dive into and to look at and discuss, and to talk about some of the reboots that I've really enjoyed, and ones that I think are the best reboots. And it's going to be a fun topic to deep dive into. So that is a headline topic for today's show. But before we head into the headline topic for today's show, we're going to go to the section of the show called Not So Worthy Blockbuster Housekeeping. This is the part of the show where we just ease into things and discuss what's going on with the channel. And it's just a general chit-chat to, get into the pace of the show, and before we jump into that big headline topic of today's show. So, what is going on with this week? Not so worthy blockbuster housekeeping. What is in the housekeeping section for this week's show? First of all, we've got coming up soon is Christmas. Christmas is just around the corner. December is right around the corner. For the month of Halloween, for October, we did a lot of Halloween themed shows, and it was great. It was really good fun, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching a bunch of different Halloween movies for a change. It made a big difference for me because I've said it plenty of times, I'm not a big horror guy. I'm not a guy who's watching tons of horror movies, so it was nice to mix it up as a movie fan to watch some of them horror movies and a few more Halloween themed movies that I maybe probably wouldn't watch normally. So that was cool, and it was cool to do them themed shows as well throughout October. But be honest, it made my planning easier for the Saturday Movie Show episodes, because sometimes I'm scratching my head on a Friday night or a Saturday morning thinking of a topic sometimes, and it made it a lot easier to think of topics throughout Halloween, having the Halloween themed central episodes. So I think in December we'll probably do something very similar, and I think a few Christmas-themed episodes. If people enjoy them, we could try and do it. If some people don't enjoy them as much, let me know. But I think it's fun just to get into the mood of Christmas and just to talk about movies that we wouldn't talk about the rest of the year, really. Because, I'm not going to touch upon Jingle All the Way in August or May, am I really? So it'll be fun to just deep dive into some of them movies over Christmas. I think as well, talking about Christmas in December as well, I think definitely the show will take a little break over Christmas as well. I think it's good to take a little break from YouTube and stuff over the Christmas and New Year period. So I think there will come a point where we have a little stopping point, and we do have a little break of the show of YouTube just for a week or two, maybe just to rest up, eat some Christmas foods and Christmas drinks, and just have a nice chill. But also as well, next month we've got, we do our headline pay-per-view months every 3 months on this channel. We have the first month, the third month, the 6th month, the 9th, and the 12th month of the year. We do headline months, and it's gonna be another headline month next month of December, and I'm still scratching my head as to what we're going to do for that. I've had a few ideas in mind. I think because I've been doing a few little streams recently, live streaming with other people on YouTube, and I've done one. I think I've done 1 or 2 on the channel, and they worked out really well, the live streams, and I think I feel a bit more confident in doing the live streaming aspect now. And maybe we could do a quiz over the Christmas period as the pay-per-view show for Christmas. I think maybe doing it like a Saturday movie show, topical show, quiz, something like that would be a cool pay-per-view episode. I think the pay-per-view will be like the last one, like the last show we do for the year, maybe. Do you know, end on a high note with a cool pay-per-view headline show, and maybe get some guests in. I still work on it, and maybe that might not be what we do, but I think at this moment in time, that's the idea. Do something like that. I think it would be cool to do, and get some people from the Saturday Movie Show community involved as well. So I think that'd be awesome. But anyway, if anyone has any ideas really for any pay-per-view ideas, we've done the quizzes before on the channel on previous headline months and stuff like that, and we've done like we released the short film. I think that was released. I honestly can't remember now. This year just went so quick, and it just feels like a blur, to be honest with you, when thinking back to months. So I think we did Masters of the Universe, and we did Michael Keaton quizzes previously this year. I think September might have been the short film release, but I can't remember after that. My brain's just fried. But anyway, that is the plans. And let me know your thoughts. What would you like to see next month in December in regards to Saturday Movie Show topics, Christmas topics maybe? What would you like to see? And also, what would you like to see as a pay-per-view event for the show? Let us know all your thoughts. But anyway, let's talk about something else in the housekeeping section of the show. This week, I had a video up on the channel, and it was 10 popular movies that I have never seen before. And man, that was a list that I feel somewhat ashamed of as a movie fan, but also at the same time excited because I got loads of these superb, grand movie experiences to come, because the movie list of mine is quite epic on the scale of movies that I have not watched before. So I got a tag from James from Movie Mad, and James has got a great channel. He talks about movies, physical media. Check out his channel if you've not already. Superb channel, superb guy as well. And he tagged me in this trending topic on YouTube at the moment. I don't know who started this topic of 10 popular movies, this sort of like video topic at the moment, because everyone's doing this video, everyone's tagging each other. I think it's a cool idea. I think it's awesome. So, it's fun. What I really like about it is going and looking at other people's movies they've never seen before, and seeing if there's similar ones to me. And I seem to see there's like one that pops up every single time. It's A Clockwork Orange, and that was in my list. I know I've noticed a few other people have had this movie in their list, and it seems like a movie a lot of people have like avoided. 2001, A Space Odyssey seems like another one that people have in the list as well. That is one I'm looking forward to watching. But there's some, and it's good. You do these lists and you look at like the IMDb and the Rotten Tomatoes and see what are like the best rated movies of all time. And it's good just looking at these lists and seeing what is there and what you've not watched, and to get an idea of like what exciting movies and challenges of movies you've got to watch. I'm really looking forward to it as a movie fan. So it's going to be very, very exciting watching some of these films moving forward. So yeah, that was this week's video. A lot of people commented on that video and got involved and interacted with that video. That was awesome to see. I love that. The community, as always, is awesome, and it's good to see the interaction. And look, I tagged a few people in them videos as well, and we've got some people already who have made videos on this. I know Sean, Media Collective Madness, he has done a video on this topic as well. Nick from Nick's Movie Talk, he has also posted a video on this. Definitely check out both of their videos, and check out all the other guys who I recommended for that, and just check out some of these other videos online. I think it's cool to you find out about more YouTubers and more people who are interested in movie topics by just searching for this topic online, and you can find some really awesome creators out there talking about this topic of movies. What else have we got to talk about? Well, we have now got use of the community tab on the channel. We passed over 500 subs, which is awesome. You are all very, very awesome people for subbing to this channel. Thank you very much. And we've got the community tab. And, I feel like it's a kind of like with great power comes great responsibility. And you've got this community tab now. and I don't want to like abuse it, and I want to use it to good effect and to interact more and better communicate, and also to get your input more so on what the channel does moving forward. So I really want to just throw the hat out there to say, what would you like to see the community tab used for? Would you like it to be used for like polls for maybe topics for future shows? Maybe we do like a question out there to see what you would like to put in, like you throw out your ideas for future Saturday movie shows or just general videos for the channel. Would you like to see me recommending movies on there? Would you like to see me post about deals on current movies or what you can purchase? I've got a few different ideas, but I don't want to just like start throwing it together. I really do want to get your input, the community's input, and see what you think and what you would like to see in that community tab. Because I know what you're going to log onto YouTube. I want it to be something worthwhile. I don't want it just to be like you go on YouTube, you see AP Stevens, you see the community tab, and you're like, oh, he's just posting this again. I want it to be something worthwhile for you as someone who's going online watching YouTube and seeing these community tab posts. So let me know. It is a community here. We want to embrace that community atmosphere, and I want to get your input as community members. So let me know all your thoughts on what you'd like to see with the community tab moving forward. Let's end it on one thing. Black Friday. Black Friday was yesterday, and look, I'll be honest with you, I'm not like a super shopper or anything. I'm not like one of these guys buying tons of stuff. What are my views on Black Friday and what have I bought in the past? I thought it'd just be a little fun topic to draw upon, and I'm sure I've mentioned this before on the channel, but Black Friday, before one purchase I made years ago on Black Friday was a pure impulse buy, and that's why I kind of avoid these sort of sales now, and I feel like I've got control of them impulse buys. But I think you can get a good bargain. First of all, Black Friday sales, I think it's something you are looking for. If it's like a movie release or some type of physical media release or whatever it may be, I think if it's something you are looking for and it's dropped down in price significantly, that is awesome for you because you get a good deal for something you actually want. I have been in the past drawn into the impulse buy arena and bought stuff that I don't necessarily want or need. And I'm sure we've all been there at some point, and we've all bought that one thing where we're like, oh yeah, this is a great price. This is a great price. And then you end up buying it and you're like, why did I buy this? And I bought a few years back, I bought the Incredible Hulk, the original TV show. And I'd never watched it before, and it was dead cheap. I think I bought it for like 15 or 20 quid at the time, which was really cheap back then for DVDs, a DVD box set. And I got it, and I must have watched about 2 episodes of it. It wasn't for me. I know a lot of people like that show. Maybe I should have given it more of a chance, but I couldn't get into it at all, and it just felt too the same each episode. So I ended up selling it, actually, and I think I actually ended up recouping a lot of the money back from it, thankfully. But that was just a pure impulse buy. And let me know your worst impulse buy of Black Friday. Let's try and stick in with the arena of movies and physical media. But what has been your worst impulse buy for a movie you bought? It was super cheap, or a box set. Super cheap, you bought it, and then you were like, why did I buy that? Let me know all your recommendations there and your choices of some of the worst Black Friday impulse buys you've had. But also let me know maybe some of your best purchases as well for Black Friday as well. I'm sure some of you have got some great deals. I'm sure I've definitely had some decent deals, but I didn't buy anything yesterday on Black Friday. I was definitely looking for stuff that had been in my shopping list that I was interested in buying, but nothing come up, and I didn't buy anything in the end. But look, there's always sales in this retail world we live in. But anyway, that is the not so worthy Blockbuster housekeeping section over for today's show. Let's move on with the headline topic. So the headline topic for today's show: best movie reboots. Let's just first of all, before we deep dive into my 4 choices for this episode, to just talk about reboots in general and how I think of them in the movie industry. Look, are reboots good for movies? Are Are they sort of like ruining the original ideas coming through? Are they just an easy you know easy thing to do for filmmakers? Let's just do a reboot. Let's not write something original. Let's just go for something that the audience knows and enjoys. I think it can you can look at it as both sides of the coin here. I think, look, reboots work for moviegoers and for big movie houses who are making these production companies making these movies. They work because people know this particular property. Say it's like, for instance, the Star Trek property. We had the J.J. Abrams reboot a few years back now, and this is a reboot of a very popular franchise in Star Trek. Everyone knows Star Trek. Even if you've never watched an episode, someone mentions Star Trek, you know what it is, don't you? Whereas if you had, on the other side of the coin, some just random space adventure exploration movie idea, what would get more people, more viewers in? It's obviously going to be Star Trek. So I think from like a production side of things and a film company side of things, reboots make more sense. But we are then potentially missing out on a superb original movie and some OG idea what could have been amazing. And some of these OG ideas are good sometimes and really worth worth giving the opportunity to. So I think I like both. I think it's nice to have a blend of both. I'm not against reboots, so I think if they're done well, they can. I've had some really enjoyable moments with reboots, and the ones I'm discussing today on the show have been fun experiences. And to me, it doesn't diminish what came before as well. I think some of them lend to mythology and the extension of movie franchises and canon. And some of them just start their own things, something fresh. And I don't think like either of those things is a bad thing. I think it lends to movies and it's good for movies. So let's look at this. So I've got 4 choices today of movie reboots that I enjoyed. I'm kind of going to look at the particular movies that rebooted the franchises, but we'll sort of like drift into some of the other movies as well that also were part of the franchises as well. But I'm really going to look at like sort of the first movies and in these particular franchises. So let's start off with 2006. We get the reboot of the popular James Bond franchise with Casino Royale. Daniel Craig takes over from Pierce Brosnan in the role of James Bond 007. And we get this reboot of the franchise. And obviously, if you watch James Bond movies, the character gets recast every couple of years. We've had Sean Connery, Roger Moore, Pierce Brosnan, Timothy Dalton. What's the American guy? I always forget his name. George Lazenby, was it? I think it was George Lazenby. That film was not that great. It was pretty bad, that one. But we've had, this role gets recast every couple of years. We get this new incarnation of James Bond. And 2006, we got this new guy, Daniel Craig. I never knew who he was before this. I'd never watched any of his stuff. And I remember when he got cast in that role of James Bond, and here in the UK it was on the news, and he was on this speedboat, and I think he's from Chester here in the UK, and it's showing him on this speedboat, and I don't know if it was in Chester because they have it's very there's a lot of rivers there, or it might have been the River Thames in London. It was probably the River Thames, and he come on the speedboat and he had blonde hair, and he looked completely different to what you think James Bond looks like in your brain. To me, James Bond is dark hair. And he just looked very different to what Bond was, and especially if you compare him to the Bond that came before him, Pierce Brosnan. He was darker. He just I know it's silly when you think it's just a hair color, but I think because we all look at James Bond, or we did before that, and we thought of a certain image of what James Bond is, and I think Daniel Craig has really changed that now and changed what James Bond can be. I think anyone can play James Bond now. It doesn't matter what you look like. I think anyone can play the role as long as you're a great actor. Because I think Daniel Craig is a great performer, and he's really has become one of my favourite Bonds. I think he is he's a great actor. He's a really great actor, but he's great for that particular role. I think he's just made for that role of Bond. And this movie was very different, Casino Royale, to what came before as well. And this is why it was a good reboot for me. Because we go from them previous ones and looking more particular at the Pierce Brosnan ones and maybe a few of them before that, but James Bond to me felt it was fun and it was like James Bond. It was like this spy who he's super spy. He has all these gadgets from Q, and he goes and beats this villain who's like this super villain, super spy villain. Whereas Casino Royale was very different. It went away from him having all his help of like we had Em in it as Judi Dench. She carried over from the Pierce Brosnan era. She was playing the same role, but it was a reboot of the character and a reboot of the franchise, so it doesn't have any link to the Pierce Brosnan one. So she came over, but it was like a new era for Bond. But we didn't get Q, we didn't get Moneypenny, we didn't get any of them other supporting characters that are very known within the Bond universe. So it was different, and we got this very, felt like a more darker and realistic look at James Bond and realistic look at what a spy would actually be like. For me, the opening scene is magical. It is absolutely. I love it. It's like black and white. Check it out on YouTube if you can't recall this scene, but it's in black and white scene. It's like a very film noir scene of introducing this character. And then we get it, like, all leads into the opening titles where we get this, like, really superb rocky type, not like Rocky, like the Rocky movies, like a rock theme for a Bond movie. And I can't remember the guy who done the song, but it was a really cool song for Casino Royale. But it leads in, we get past this black and white scene, then it obviously goes into full colour for the rest of the movie. What was different as well, like I said, it's a bit more grittier, a bit more real, like it feels more like set in a realistic world and a bit more realism to this, like this version of Bond. He is, we see, first of all, the parkour scenes where he's chasing this guy down, and we see all this parkour was big at the time, and I think there was definitely a lot of inspiration from the Bourne Identity movies here with the Bond movie Casino Royale. That parkour scene is like 4 or 5 minutes long, and it's so cool. I can look at this now and I think this then inspired what we see in like movies like John Wick now today. It's really inspired the way action scenes are looked at, and action scenes now are a bit more in detail. And for movies like this, it's all done practically. You can see it's all done. It's just like two fantastic stunt guys who can run up things and do all these cool jumps and stuff. That parkour scene is fantastic in this film. But then we move to the relationship in this story between it is Eva Green's character and Daniel Craig's character. It's like a love story throughout the story. I think that works really well in this, and I like the scenes at the poker table where the black it's poker, isn't it? And with Matt Mikkelsen's character as the villain in the story, that's the first time I've seen him in a movie as well, and he is a superb villain. And there's some great scenes. I think there's some great scenes between them at the table. One scene I particularly like is where Bond is poisoned, and he knows he's been poisoned. He looks at his drink, and then he says, I've got to get out of this game. He like pays himself out the game, runs to the toilet with some salt and water, drinks the salt and water to try and get the poison out of his system, and then he goes into cardiac arrest, and he's got to like go to his car, put these like the sort of like defibrillators on him, and he's got to try and save himself. And then Eva Green's character comes and saves him, puts like the defibrillators on, and then like 5 minutes later, he's going back to the table, and he's like, "Oh, that last round nearly killed me," and it's just such a good line. And I think it's just a fantastic scene overall, and it just sums up the intelligence of this movie and the storytelling. It's just like really, I think it's just a great film, and it really takes Bond to a different arena. Whereas like Bond in the past would have been, fighting in an underground lure against a villain. He's fighting at a poker table, at a blackjack's table, whatever it is, and he's playing against the other guy in a game of cards. And that's what it's to do with this story. And then you've got the love story in the background as well, which is is very integral to the story and to the end of the movie as well. And even more integral moving forward with the Daniel Craig movies too. Because I want to talk about Casino Royale, but I want to then talk about Skyfall. So we move like 2 movies forward. We have Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, then we have Skyfall. Skyfall in itself feels like another reboot of the James Bond character, because this is where we get more of those familiar faces coming in, and it feels more like a familiar Bond movie. And as much as I enjoy Casino Royale, and I think it worked and it benefited not having all them other supporting characters in, I don't think they needed to be in. But Skyfall is an equally very different movie and takes the Bond franchise to a new level. It felt very different, this movie. I think the villain was fantastic again. They nailed the villain. But it was cool seeing the reintroduction of some of these central characters. Like we have a new version of M brought in after Judi Dench leaves the role. We see Moneypenny, we see Q being brought in. But it doesn't feel as sort of like cheesy, like the gadgets and stuff. It feels still a bit more set in a realistic world of a spy game, in this world where spies could actually exist. You know, the gadgets are not like, it's not a watch that like tells the time but can also be a parachute or something like that. We do get sort of like that, but it doesn't feel like over the top, or like a pen that can explode, like can electrocute someone and it can turn into a shotgun. Do you know, it's not like that sort of like degree of gadgetry, but it works. And I think Skyfall is another sort of, it feels like another little reboot of the franchise in itself, and it works well. And I think this whole Daniel Craig era, I will get to the end movie No Time to Die later on in the show, because I've watched this past week, so I do want to get to that later on in the show. But I think it as a looking at it as an era and the best reboot, I think it is one of my most enjoyable reboots of the Bond franchise. I think it's a great story throughout it, and there's a story that is told throughout all these movies. I feel it does feel like they go back into the story lore of the first movie, and even in the last movie, and they sort of go back, and it's like that long-term storytelling, which I really enjoy in movies. And it's the attention to detail in these movies is very well done, and I think it is a great movie to watch, well worth checking out. Casino Royale. Casino Royale. Anyway, let's move on to my second choice in Best Movie Reboot. Now, we're going to this year, 2021, and this is a Disney movie. A Disney movie starring Emma Stone in the main role of Cruella. The movie is Cruella. And I was super, astonished by this movie. I was really surprised by how good this movie was. I was recommended this movie, and I was like, I don't know whether I really fancy watching a 101 Dalmatians spin-off. So Cruella tells the origin story of the villain of the 101 Dalmatians book, the movie franchise. And before that, we've had like a few animated movies by Disney. We've had 2 live action. I believe we've had 2 live action versions of the 101 Dalmatians universe franchise. This is a fresh reboot, and it's telling the origin story with Emma Stone as Cruella, also known in this movie as Estelle. And it's great because, it takes, first of all, this iconic Disney villain and makes her the hero of the movie. She is playing opposite to Emma Thompson, who is the evil Baroness in this story. And I won't go too spoiler heavy, but it's a movie about the fashion industry, and then Cruella becomes this big punk style fashion icon, and she's taking on the Baroness. And it's a really interesting story, and it's one I really didn't think I'd enjoy. I suppose it's definitely got a feel of a Devil Wears Prada, something set in that world, but a bit more punky-ish. I would say, but it's got that fashion identity to it. And me, I'll be honest, I'm not a fashion guy. I wear the same black t-shirt, black hat, and black jacket every week. I don't have any sense of fashion, and it's you don't have to have that interest in the fashion industry. I think it's just a great story, a great origin story. We see the early days of this character Estelle, where she then becomes into evil Cruella. And we get teasers then throughout this movie for, a potential sequel for a 101 Dalmatians spin-off. I think, I believe it has been confirmed that they are doing a sequel to Cruella. I don't know whether that sequel will be 101 Dalmatians or it will be another Cruella movie before we go into that, or maybe they'll sort of like combine the both into a Cruella movie, a second movie. Either way, I think Emma Stone was great in the role, playing this British character. I know she's an American actress, but she nailed the British character down. It was nice. I love it. To me, it felt like a movie where I could sink into the universe. And I get that with movies like Harry Potter, like Spirited Away, and Cruella, the world, the setting. I could really sink into it. I love that, like that London look. And it felt like a world where I was just like, wow, this is just a cool world to live in. And I love this character of Cruella and her origin and her story. And I thought it was a great movie. I think it is a very maybe underrated movie, and maybe not a lot of people have really watched this year. It's well worth checking out. If you haven't watched it, I believe it's on Disney Plus now anyway as well. And I think it is just one where I'm really looking forward to seeing more from this franchise. I hope it goes on to having a few sequels, because it's something that I was never a big fan of 101 Dalmatians, the animated one, as a kid. I thought it was a bit of a boring story, but it sold me on it. It sold me on a reboot of a franchise I didn't have any interest in, and it's made me more interested to see what comes after it. So I think Cruella is a superb reboot movie. So now let's move on to my third choice of best movie reboot. And my third choice goes to Spider-Man Homecoming. The Tom Holland-led movie playing Peter Parker Spider-Man. We also have Michael Keaton in here as Adrian Toomes, aka the villain of the piece, Vulture. And this one came out in 2017. We had two franchises of the Spider-Man character before this. We have the Tobey Maguire one and the Andrew Garfield one. I think both of them have their merits, but for me, Spider-Man's not a character I'm like a super big fan of. For me, like characters in movies, I've got to say it's got to be like Batman's my favorite. I like Green Lantern as well. I like him in the comic books, but Batman's probably my favorite character. And then Spider-Man and like Superman. Look at Man of Steel. That was a surprise to me because I'm not a super Superman character fan. But Spider-Man's like one I would watch the movies, but I wouldn't be like, wow, I'm really excited to see this character as Spider-Man. So I went and seen this, and I was like really surprised by the story. And I think because the other Spider-Man movies were a bit hit and miss sometimes. I think some of them really worked well. First two Spider-Mans. The third one was poor. I think the first Amazing Spider-Man was okay. The second one was a letdown for me personally. And we look at this one now. It's a fresh take on this. It's now a part of the MCU, so we got Kevin Feige involved as well. So you feel like there's a bit more promise to it. It could be great, and I think it really did. It was a great performing film. I think it done really well at like giving us a Spider-Man that worked well in the MCU. We got a fresh take. It wasn't telling the origin story. It was straight away he's Spider-Man. We're into his like first or second year of being Spider-Man, and I really enjoyed it. I think Tom Holland is a great choice because he actually is a very young looking actor. I think he is only young, and it worked because it's the character's set in like high school, and he's doing like this homecoming dance at the end of it, and it worked. It worked seeing this younger character in a superhero role in a movie, and I think he's got a ton of charisma. Tom Holland, he really works well within that role. And I like him as that actor. I think as that character, I think he's great. And then you put him opposite Michael Keaton as Adrian Toomes, the Vulture. His villainous performance in this was fantastic. It's so weird because we're so used to seeing Keaton in the role of Batman as Bruce Wayne. But now, he's a few years older now, and we're seeing him in this villainous role. And I think he nails the villainous role. And I think Keaton is... He's out over the past few years. He feels like he's had a resurgence in his acting career, and he's proven that he is a great actor. And I thought he was a great performer in this movie, a great villain, really up there with Spider-Man villains for me, opposite like Doc Ock, Green Goblin, and Vulture is definitely up there. I think he's a fantastic villain, and I think this, it's kickstarted. We've got the upcoming Spider-Man 3 is it No Way Home? I always forget which ones. It's No Way Home or Far From Home. I think it's No Way Home. Coming out this year, and we think it's going to be a big multiverse event with all Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, all them involved. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it's been teased massively. But I think this really kick-started it all on a good footing. It's seeing this character who is, he's given the Iron Spark, all the gadget suit of Spider-Man by Tony Stark. Tony Stark is the mentor for him in this first film. And then he gets stripped away from the suit. He has to wear like his plain clothes, plain Spider-Man suit, which has no gadgets, and prove that he is worthy of being Spider-Man and taking on the Vulture. And he does. He proves it. Some of my favourite scenes, though, is between Peter Parker and Adrian Toomes, especially the car scene when Keaton finds out, he realises that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And that scene is just... You see the sinister look in Michael Keaton's eyes, in Vulture's eyes, when he looks in the back of his car. His daughter's going on a date, going to the prom with Peter Parker, and he's just got a sinister look in his eyes and the realization when he knows, and when Peter Parker knows that he's Vulture as well. It's a fantastic film, a fantastic scene in movies. I love scenes like that where you can just automatically go to that one scene that just makes you go, wow, that is awesome. That is an awesome movie to watch. So it had some great action scenes, a great storytelling, and I think it was just overall, it was an entertaining movie non-stop. I like the little nods with the original Spider-Man theme song in like this orchestral version at the start of the movie. That was awesome to hear as well. When I was watching it at the cinema, I was like, yes, this is great. This is cool. And I loved it. I think it was a great reboot of the Spider-Man franchise. Now let's move on to my final pick of today's show. And my final pick goes to 2005. We go to 2005 with the reboot of the Batman franchise. The Christopher Nolan trilogy begins here with Batman Begins. Now, I would obviously say that Dark Knight was the best of that trilogy, but I think Batman Begins has a ton of... You've got to throw a lot of respect the way of Batman Begins, because it kicks off that superb trilogy of movies. And I think Batman Begins is a really great movie as well. We have Christian Bale now in the role of Batman. As I said, Christopher Nolan taking over as the director. And we are moving forward from the 90s movies of Batman, a very more like comedy inspired, I would say, a bit more jokey in a way. I think Keaton's ones were less, but then went to George Clooney and Val Kilmer ones. They were a bit cheesy at times. I still like their movies, but it needed something different, I feel, in the Batman universe. And Batman Begins really gave us something different for that character, a more darker edge to it. I know everyone says it's dark, it's gritty, but it is. It's different. It feels like it's it feels like they went into the room. Christopher Nolan went into the room, the writer's room, and he said, how do we take this character of Batman, this guy who runs around in a cape, and how do we make this guy more realistic? How would we set him in a real world? And they gave it to us. They gave us that realistic look. This guy who trains with the League of Shadows, and then he's a billionaire. He's making his own suit from like buying loads of this stuff, and then he's got his little lure as well, and he's become Batman. He's taken on this scarecrow, and it works. It works, and there's tons of stuff, great scenes. I think the action scenes. I think it works as well because there's a lot of practical effects. I know if you look on the DVD features for this and the bonus features, and probably get them online now, for both this and the Dark Knight and the third one, Dark Knight Rises, a lot of practical effects, and I think that's a thing with Christopher Nolan. He wants to go for practical effects rather than going for computer-generated effects a lot of the time because it looks better. I personally agree with that. And you can see in this movie with like the chase scenes and like all the scenes with Batman, it looks better because it's all practical. But I think the story works well. I think it's a good origin story. I think Christian Bale is really good in that role as Batman. I do think there is better Batman. I think Ben Affleck is a really good Batman, but I think you've got to respect Christian Bale in this role. He really did well in this movie. I think this is really his Batman movie because it feels like the third and definitely secondly, the second one is definitely the Joker's movie. The third is kind of like a tie between him and Bane, but it feels more like a Bruce Wayne versus Bane rather than Batman versus Bane at times. But this one is Batman. It feels like the first Batman movie. It feels like Christian Bale is his finest moments as Batman here in this first film. And I really enjoyed it. I think it was something fresh, and it gives us a new look at what superhero movies could be as well. You know, this came out the same year as Iron Man. It feels like it's such a significant year. Iron Man came out and Batman Begins came out. Oh, hang on, no, I do apologise. Iron Man came out the same year as The Dark Knight, so this even came out before that. So this is even more significant because we are now getting this new look at what superhero movies could be, and it, for me, just absolutely nailed it in regards to what you can do with a superhero movie and also what you can do with rebooting a movie franchise. So now the headline topic is over for today's show. I want to move on to some movies for the weekend. This is the part of the show where I recommend some movies for you for this weekend. Now, I've got two choices here, and talking about at the start of the show, this popular movie choices that you've never seen. One movie that seems to pop up a lot is this one here, and it is Tom Hanks' Steven Spielberg movie, Saving Private Ryan. I've noticed this in a few people's lists, and I find this really weird because I think it's a great movie, but I imagine there's a lot of people who see my list and say, why have you never watched that, AP? But this is just an excellent war movie, a great Tom Hanks performance. I mean, it's a great ensemble cast as well, but Tom Hanks, as always, steals the show. His acting is great. And it's a great look at World War II, and it's just a great story of Saving Private Ryan, trying to find this private because two of his brothers have died, and he doesn't want to let this other guy die. And it's a great story. Visually, it is just phenomenal to look at. I would have loved to have been on the set of this film to see how they filmed a lot of these scenes. I think it would have been amazing. But Saving Private Ryan is one I would recommend watching this weekend if you get a chance. Another one I want to recommend as well is Rocky 4. So I've got the Rocky box set here. I know this new Rocky director's cut, Rocky vs. Drago, has come out recently. I've not checked out yet. I do want to check out this soon anyway. But I think one thing I'm going to do before that is watch the original cut and see what it's going to be like in comparison, because I've not watched the Rocky 4 for a while. So it'd be nice to watch Rocky 4. I've got the box set here of all of them and check that out. So Rocky 4 is the one I would definitely recommend for this weekend. I like that movie. I think it's fun. A bit cheesy at times, a bit 80s. But it's still a good Rocky movie, in my opinion. But anyway, that is movies for the weekend over for today's show. Now let's move on to the next section of the show, which is Amazon Top 10. This is the part of the show where I look at what are the top 10 Amazon top sellers and best sellers in DVDs, Blu-rays, and 4Ks section. This is, it changes ever so slightly, and we get different choices in there, but it's nice to see how it does change. I think this is a new one potentially in there. I don't think this was in last week. It may be incorrect, but at number 10, we start off with Harry Potter, the 8-film collection on DVD. This looks like a new box set because I've got one of the box sets there, so it does actually say it's a 2016 release, so maybe I've just not got that box set. But that one is superb. I love the Harry Potter movies. I think they're great. At number 9, we've got Fast and Furious on DVD. Fast and Furious 9, that is. On 4K, we have number 8, we have Black Widow on 4K. At number 7, we have Jungle Cruise DVD. As I said, great movie, Jungle Cruise, well worth checking out. At number 7. Number 6, we have the Blu-ray of Black Widow. Again, another great Disney MCU movie. I really like Black Widow. We have Shang-Chi at number 5, the Blu-ray release of Shang-Chi. At number 4, we have the DVD of Black Widow. At number 3, we have the Shang-Chi DVD. At number 2, we have the DVD of No Time to Die. It's the Blu-ray of No Time to Die. And then the DVD release is at number 1 of No Time to Die as well. That is coming out on physical very soon, and it's been dominating the charts for a few weeks now. So No Time to Die is top of the pile when it comes to bestsellers on Amazon's top 10. Now let's go to the section of the show now. What's been on the screen? What has been on the screen, ladies and gents? Now, a few little spoilers ahead for the movie James Bond, No Time to Die, the recent Bond movie. So spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Watched it this past week, No Time to Die, and I think it was a perfect ending to this Daniel Craig era Bond movies. I feel like Spectre could have been a Bond ending. It felt like it had like an ending feel. But it feels like, it was... I thought it was a great story. It felt very different to the other movies, but I thought the action scenes were great in it. I think it gripped me for the whole movie, and I was surprised because I've heard some people saying it's not a good movie. I always try and give my own impression, and I always give my own thoughts, and I always go in, fresh face and don't really think about other people's opinions watching the movie. I really enjoyed it. I think it was a good ending. Like I said, the action was great. Great story, and the story was great. It was there was an arc of that story, of that character throughout the whole movies, that went from like Vesper to the character of Vesper, Ava Green's character in the first movie, to this movie, and it felt like it really tied in all of the movies of the Daniel Craig era for me. It was a great ending. I like that they killed him off. I think that's the first time they've ever killed that character off officially, and it was something different, It gave us something different for that ending, and really give us a real ending to James Bond. And I think he has been the best Bond. I think it's I think one thing I would say, the Bond villain, Rami Malek, is a great actor. I just feel like his villain I couldn't relate to his villain as much. I didn't think his villain was the strongest that we've had. I think we've had like Mads Mikkelsen was the best out of this franchise. Who's it in Skyfall? I thought his villain was great as well. Rami Malek wasn't. I think in comparing him to them two villains, he wasn't strong. He wasn't strong enough, and I feel like they could have done with a much better villain. I think that's all to do with the character though, rather than the performer, because I think he is a great actor and he's won Oscars. But overall, even with taking apart that the villain wasn't the best, I still think the story was great, and I feel like it went to like old style Bond villains in a way. It felt like the underground lure, the secret island, bits like Dr. No era. I thought he was going to actually be revealed as like Dr. No at some point, but that wasn't to be. But I liked it, and they introduced Bond's daughter as well, which was nice to see that he has a family, but he doesn't really know until like later on in the movie that he's got a daughter who's like a couple of years old. But yeah, I love the ending where he gets killed off. I know it's like you're killing off your favourite character in this franchise, but it worked because we know it's going to be ending. So why not give him an ending? I mean, he either goes two ways. He goes off into the sunset, or he gets blown to smithereens. And he got blown to smithereens, but I think it worked well with this story. So I'd really recommend checking out No Time to Die. I think it's perfect. I think definitely you could watch Casino Royale, Skyfall, and what was Spectre, and No Time to Die. I would miss out Quantum of Solace. I don't think that's the best one. I think you could miss out. It doesn't really lend to the story that much. But well worth checking out No Time to Die. Superb film. But anyway, that is it for today's show. Thank you very much for watching today's show. If you did like this video, please do give it a like and check out the rest of my movie-related content as well. And let me know your thoughts on today's topic of best movie reboots. What are your favourite movie reboots in history of movies? What have been your favourites? What have been some of the ones that you've enjoyed? Which ones have you felt like could have improved a lot more? And which ones are you looking forward to seeing? I'm sure we're getting loads more reboots coming up in the near future as well. But this has been a fun topic to deep dive into, and I've really enjoyed the show. Let me know all your thoughts on today's topics. Thank you very much for watching, as always, and I will see you next time.